Hello everyone. Good afternoon. Thank you for tuning in to the Astro News Network for the, I don't know, is this the 20th episode? I think it might be. I guess I should have counted that beforehand before I thought about it right now. But this might be the 20th episode. But hello people who've already said hello in chat. Got a sub out of Super Mallard. Thanks so much for that too. We have had a slow, boring past couple of months on Antares, and I'm going to go over those boring, slow last 3 months of what I can only assume will be our final Antares timeline report. But the sun has finally risen on Babylon, and we have a chance, however brief, to once again have just a little bit of fun on a new server with Babylon that started last Saturday. There's a lot of fighting in the Babylon Zeros and the 10s, while the 20s and the 30s galaxies are completely empty and useless. I mean, that's as nice as I can say it. If you're in the 20s or 30s, you might not even exist. You might not be real, and you definitely don't matter because nothing's happening in half of the server. But we're going to go ahead and start off the day by taking a look at the rankings, which are for the first time not all Antares rankings. Babylon to the left of me, Antares Jokers to the right. Taking a look at some Babylon rankings on the individual scale. On Babylon, this is from about 4 or 5 hours ago. Hopefully it's not wildly inaccurate now. But number 1 is Alpha 1, followed by Insomniac, a definite non-cheater guy for sure. There's Lika Kali, Tony Stark, Simba. Number 6 is Belial, I forget how you say that correctly. Knox Harrington, Little Panda, Pack Rat, and Twigwolf from Stonk. If you go by the B3 rankings by guild, which I'm sure are different now because we had a crash like an hour ago in 01. The rankings from 5 hours ago had Stonk on top, followed by TLDR, LOW, BS, Void. Number 6 is Beach Party, Sun, SMFI, Top G, HRC. Top G just lost like 200,000 fleet, so I bet they're not there anymore. You can see the top 2 guilds, Stonk and TLDR, they are without any kind of contest. They're just chilling in their galaxies, pushing economy. So that's why they're so far ahead of everyone else. If you take a look at the Antares guilds, you'll see currently number 1 is USSR, which I am now in USSR because they graciously gave me the rank 1 account that had freed up because obviously I would deserve that gift. Usually OPA would be in that number 1 spot, but they're always using an up guild when they're visiting out and about. So right now I guess it says they're 9, but they're definitely not 9. And they're op guild. Wee woo the server police. I also have a big alert that I don't think anyone could ever see coming. We're always on watch for Belwar recalls, and Belwar launched to 09 with the rest of the teams on Antares, and he did not recall. So big round of applause today for Belwar. They got their fleets in the air. They didn't have to recall. Big ups to Belwar. He finally did it. All by himself. Well, all by his own cluster. So really, that's basically an individual effort, I think. But moving on from just these little steps, there's a different kind of rankings that I want to get into, which I think might be more important than the physical rankings, which are the Babylon guild name rankings. Now, guild names are very important, and there are a lot of people that get their guild names wrong. I think I should just go ahead and just describe a few rules of thumb that are good for good guild names and bad guild names. For instance, this is objective journalism. These are facts, Hobbs, don't you worry. You can usually figure out some good guild names because they have some kind of clever acronym. A top tier acronym type name will be an actual word that becomes an acronym that's not usually an acronym. Got a big brain for that one. You could have a fun and interesting naming theme with a wide range of names. In the Scott Sean Snoz group of people, they one time tried to legitimately push the guild name theme of types of internet service. Not a joke. Oh my god. Super Mallard. Yes, I agree that would also be fantastic, but it's already been done by a hero on a prior server. Also, usually a server name can be good, or a guild name can be good, if you work in the name of the server on it. That's usually, sometimes you can end up with cute things like that, but sometimes you can end up with the bad version of that, which I have an example for. But bad guild names, they can also fall into a few categories. You can have a crappy try-hard intimidating name. You could have some weird, like, spacey roleplay weird shit. You could have also some kind of dated meme, like having a picture of Borat in your guild profile. In 2020, Borat. But I mentioned some bad things and some good things, and I'm just going to point out a quick example. Like, compare the guild names of the Babylon Babes to the Rangers of Babylon. Like, Babylon Babes, you can tell, like, it has Babylon in there, but at least it's kind of silly. It's not taking itself serious. Rangers of Babylon, that's a try-hard name. And I'm not sure exactly where it comes from. They just decided they'd be the Rangers. That sounds tough, I guess. But you go to the Babylon Babes Guild page, it has a picture of like the new Baywatch movie with The Rock that came out a few years ago. It says only on the page, "We have good intentions." That's it. It's vague, leaves it up to interpretation. But if you go to the Rangers of Babylon Guild page, it says this: "We are the Rangers. We walk in the dark places no others will enter. We stand on the bridge and no one may pass. We live for the one, we die for the one." You said it, Hobbs. That is some cringy crap that I would never play in a guild that takes itself that seriously and is doing some weird roleplay thing like that. Absolutely not. Which guild looks like more fun? It's definitely not Rangers of freaking Babylon. Definitely not. Guild names matter, and not enough people in this country are standing up for what is right. And then I think next week I might actually go into some guild page reviews, because some people do it right and some people, Rangers of Babylon, you do it wrong. It's bizarre. No, surprisingly not, Hobbs. GTK is not my #1 top guild ranking. But I just put some top 5 in no particular order and bottom 5, good and bad guilds. But we're going to start with from the good guilds. They're in no order. And I don't know if this is objectively the best one or not. But here's his guild. Some hero created News, his training guild. They named it Noob Education with Style. That's an acronym. It has, and the word is part of the acronym, and then an acronym goes with it. It's not cringy. It's kind of silly. I think that's a good example of a properly acronymed guild name. But if we go to the next guild, we have Stonk. Stonk, that's still a actively used and popular meme. It's not a dated meme. I think that's a fine name. Usually you'll get a meme like, God, what it's like an ancient meme. Like some would be like Goosebumps. Like, oh my God, Goosebumps. Like that could be something you could have seen recently in a terrible guild name. And I don't think we'd be surprised if we'd see it again. We have Beach Party. Oh my goodness. I don't have the dash in the right place. That's embarrassing. But Beach Party, I think it has a fine theme. Everyone has a mixed drink name in Beach Party. And I did mention there's a guild with a Borat picture in it. That's this one. It had an interesting theme, but they've already minused themselves out by having a Borat Beach Party picture. So you can tell that the really quality sense of humor you're going to get from the Clarky Guild gang. Let's see. Up next we have Rats, Rage Against the Server. Now Rats, Rage Against the Server. Now Rage Against the Server is not like a super fantastic guild name. However, since right now in Astro everybody's loving to call each other rats, I'm glad they hopped on the Rats Astro meme train, because that's one of our favorite insults right now, and they acronymed it. I think it's fine. Perfectly good. It's a timely Astro meme. We allow those. And I put Babylon Babes on there. It has the Babylon in there. At first I didn't really like it, but it kind of grew on me. I think I like it. It's a fine guild name. I think it's good compared to what some other trash that's out there. And some of that other trash that is out there, I don't like the guild name Lords of War. Now, Lords of War itself, it has a theme where everyone is like some general name, which is, I think, a good theme. However, Lords of War, I think they've accidentally crossed the line into that kind of like too try-hard of a guild name that's trying to like be too intimidating. We're the Lords of War. I think they could have made it a fun, like general military leader name if they had gone something else that wasn't Lords of War. So Lords of War is not one of my favorites, even though they did just win a crash against Top Gun like an hour ago. So good for them. Here is one of those guild names that is like some weird roleplay space garbage. GAOW, Galactic Angels of War. I think I put an X in there by accident. It doesn't matter. But they're the Galactic Angels of War. That's so bad. It's so bad. I don't know how you could be in that guild with a straight face playing this text-based nothing game, Galactic Angels of War. Shame on whoever chose that name. Shame on anyone that chose to play in a guild with that name. Same goes for Red Kings. Just absorb that real quick. Red Kings, then also with red in the name. It's very lazy, that's right. And like Hobbs is saying, trying to sound cool with a try-hard Astro name is awful. Trying to look cool running with a backpack on, just like that. Yeah, if you play in Red Kings, you probably drive around with your mask on. That's a guarantee. That's a guarantee. Another really bad guild name that I did not like is NL, Not Legendary Dudes. It's like they swung and missed on their acronym. They swung and missed on that. But like it's sort of like it was supposed to be funny, but it might have missed. But I will give them points because they're not legendary dudes. I think they're being honest. I believe that. They're not legendary. They're in no particular order, Hobbs. I need to stop responding to all your texts because Jets fan is claiming I'm simping you now. Which I guess is true. It did happen. And the last one of the names I don't like Draco. I know it's like forced dragon meme. Like we've almost kind of escaped the dragon meme and it's just forcing it back in. I don't know. Like if you didn't even know the dragon meme for what's his name, like it just seems like a weird try-hard dragon name. That's weird. So I don't like it. I just don't like him. And I'm not sure if anyone else has any honorable mentions of good or bad. And now the top 5 is not explicitly in that order. That was just a good example of an acronym word that wasn't incredibly cringe. Because there's a lot of cringe out there. God, Galactic Angels of War. That's the dirt worst. That's worse than Red Kings, which is really dirty and bad too. NL is a play on TLDR since they're in the same galaxy. Pass. I'm still passing on that one. Ugh. Play on TLDR. Oh yeah, TLDR is like the U Corp group. That's all those guys, so that's fun. Oh yeah, because they're the legendary dudes return. Yeah, that's something. That sure is something. They're a barrel of laughs. You invite them to a party for sure. But I think that's all I'm going to go about for guild names. Me just making fun of names that I don't like, which is news to me. I'm going to take that quick moment to just promote myself in the stream. I'd like to thank everyone that watches and has followed and subscribed. And here's that friendly reminder that if you have Amazon Prime, you do receive a free monthly subscription to use on your favorite streamer on Twitch. And you can use this free Twitch Prime subscription every single month. There's also a donate button somewhere on the page too. I don't know. They changed the page layouts if you're into that sort of thing. One person used it once. If you're not watching live, I do upload these videos to YouTube the next day or so for old people who can't figure out how to use Twitch. And every little follow and subscribe there is appreciated too. And I realized this morning that I didn't upload like the show from 2 weeks ago, so I got to do that. Whoops. But that's enough of that. Let's get into some actual Antares related news. We're going to cover 3 months of Antares in about 10 minutes, which I think is more than enough. Oh, I almost forgot. There's still an invasion happening on Nexus. Everyone's still in the 30s, but nothing's doing anything there. Same as it has been for the last 4 weeks. Nothing's happening in Nexus. Moving on to Antares. All right. So today we're going to cover the last 3 months of Antares history, which I think we can affectionately call the start of the server police era. And it's going to take a lot less time than you would expect for covering the months 4, 5, and 6 of the newest server, because so little actually happened. After the big A30 Civil War, the 30s were reshaped into the guilds D&D, B&B, W&W, and R&R. Fun name theme. And a few people that are in the 30s, oh yeah, they're also clinging to the war tag for some reason. And they're friends with all them. In July, The 10s and U Corp of the 20s, they launched at the 30s only a couple of weeks after the Civil War's dust settled. The 30s Alliance guilds all went into vacation mode for defense against them because those numbers were just super overwhelming. The invaders didn't stay long as OPA had launched at the 10's home defense, so UPR immediately had to pull out because OPA had sent enough to kill their home defense fleet, so they just pulled out immediately, and OPA recalled. They didn't land in the 10's, and everyone just went back home. And the 30s, they came out of vacation mode. What did I forget? Oh, I didn't even know that China had launched at 09 at the same time for that. But also, the China doesn't matter. They've barely done anything. However, even though those other fleets moved and the people that were invading the 30s, they left, it didn't matter because everyone went right back to the 30s a few days later to go and kill everyone in the 30s before they could get back into vacation mode. And instead of launching at the 10s to force the USSR to pull out again, OPA launched at the 40s this time. And now the 40s were already on the way to support the 30s for a crash that would have been upcoming, but the 40s ended up recalling and went into a late vacation mode. They didn't get everyone back in time, but at the same time, Go was also launching to the 40s, and I guess there was some miscommunication or something between OPA and Go, both going to the 40s, and they didn't like Go didn't like that OPA was going to the 40s. So Go dropped their pact with OPA. So now Go was only pacted with their in-cluster friends, SF. So Go didn't get an op there. OPA did land in the 40s. They got to farm a bit. And since 40s recalled because of OPA launching at them, there was no chance they could support them, the 30s, against the 10's invasion crash. And the 30s were mega outnumbered. They were like at least 2-1 numbers-wise. And for whatever reason, even though there was just no chance whatsoever of the 30s winning that crash against the 10s plus U Corp invasion, even though there was 0% chance of winning at all, they decided to just take the crash anyway, and they died horribly for no reason. It didn't make any sense, and the 30s were now without any fleet and without any friends. But don't worry, this won't be the last time that they're invaded in this timeline. So they got kicked while they're down once, and they'll get kicked down while they're down again about a month and a half later. In August, while the 10s and U Corp were in the 30s, Go and SF, they made a short trip into the 10s. They hit some bases here and there. Not a whole lot of things to do. But once the 10s, they were done cleaning up that pile of all the 30s people they killed, they came back to the 10s, and Go and SF left. But a little bit later in the month, Go snuck back up to the 10s again, and they ninja snuck in and they killed the WP blob, WP being one of the smaller guilds in the 10s that's part of that big 10s alliance. OPA, at some point in August, OPA tried launching at SF. I think that was while Go had just killed the WP blob. They launched at SF, but SF went vacation mode, so OPA recalled. And I think late in the month, China, they went up to the 50s. They launched to invade the tiny 50s, and the 50s went, guess what, vacation mode. And that was all that happened in August. One little thing. If moving ahead to September, that's this month. The 20s invaded the 30s, who went into vacation mode. The 20s quickly left the 30s. The 30s came out of vacation mode, and so they U-turned and went straight back to the 30s before they could re-enter vacation mode. Sound familiar? I just talked about it. And at the same time the 20s were re-entering the 30s, the 10s launched down, the entire cluster of the 10s launched down to 09. So the guild in 09, Go, they went into vacation mode. Antares sounds like a hoot. I'm so glad to be playing it. And D&D sent their fleets out, with D&D being the 30s guild, they launched their fleets out of the 30s. They were hoping to sneak into the 10s kind of unnoticed and being able to hit some of their bases while they were away and and they're hopefully avoiding the 20s invading fleets to kill them, but they were spotted and they were forced to recall. Yeah, the 40s tried to launch with them too, but the 40s they were all spotted. So the 30s and 40s they recalled from their launch into the upper 10s. That's it. That was all that happened this month. The 10s and 20s are the two biggest clusters with the most people and the most fleet, and they are friends, which is replacing the 10s and 30s when they were the two biggest clusters with the most fleets and the most players from 3 months ago. The 20s kind of have just took that spot of the 30s. It's a real fun server, but I know OPA, a lot of people are mad at OPA for embracing the villain side. They've just gone full super Zerger, and they're friends with the teens now. Now they're openly friends with the teens because they went to repel that 30s invasion of the teens. Well, and most importantly, the number one player on Antares, he quit, and I said, I have to have this account, and I got those logins. So now I earned the rank 1 account by taking it. Sometimes just being assertive gets you what you want. Yes, you are correct. It is very silly that Chansey was fighting so hard against the Zerg, only to immediately take their place. Take their place of it as the big... God, it's such an old Astro Empires thing for like the number 1 guild to also be pacted to the number 2 guild, and they're both way bigger than everyone else, and then they just slowly kill off all the other guilds off the server. That's such an old thing to do, and we're getting back to that, and it's a little bit less fun. Zerg or be Zerg, that's right. One number bigger than the other number. I guess you just want to be that bigger number. It's more impressive. Well, because of the guild sizes, you can't just have everyone in one guild. You have to have 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. Gotta have it all. Nuh-uh. I actually made some money in 08 yesterday. I actually made some money, so I don't think I'm gonna... I did tell you to do it. I told you to embrace the villain and stop acting like you weren't doing it. I was asking you to be honest. And I'm glad that you are honest about your evilness. I'm positive about that. Because it was even more ridiculous when we were like the number 1 guild by a huge amount, and OPA was acting like there was some scrappy underdog fighting against the system. Like it was silly. It was silly that they were acting one way. Now they can just be the villains. They can be honest. And that's what I want. I want the honesty from the number 1 guild and the number 1 cluster overlords. And I got that. I did get what I wanted. But that's all that happened in Antares in 3 months. It was not much. When I did the first 3 months timeline, it was like 4 pages of that. It was so much more. But we're moving on to the Babylon breakdown, which it's really only going to cover half of the server, because most people are in the 0s, and then the next most people are in the 10s, and there's nobody in the 20s. And there's nobody in the 30s. Looking back at some of my Babylon previews of what guilds were going to be there and not be there, I think there was quite a lot of misinformation spread heading into B3 about groups and group sizes. Some GMs said they would have only 80 players, when really they had like over 120 players and were the biggest group coming into Babylon. Some GMs said they had 170 players. Absurd. When they were really closer to 100 players. I don't know why you would ever lie saying you had 170 when there's like not even that many people that play the game. And that makes them still the second largest group. Oh, 8. Oh, they are with Clarky. Okay, cool. No one, yeah. We'll type it out. We'll fix it. Some GMs with the largest group still pre-server pacted the second largest group, and also have a pact with China that is allegedly not a pre-server pact. I want to say I've heard that it is not a pre-server pact. They just ended up pacted together. Which really, we shouldn't call them China anymore. We should respect them and call them the Ice Corps for Ice Age as he wishes. So no more calling them China. They're the Ice Corps. But the 10s and 0s are populated, and the 0s have more than the 10s. Most of the competitive guilds of important size are in the 0s, If there's like the group that's like a smaller one galaxy guild, they're what's it called? If they're like a smaller guild that's like 15 people, they're in the teens contesting one of the guilds there. But if we look at some of the power blocks that exist of alliances, we're going to look at the counter Zerg first, which is Top G, which are both Top Gun guilds of Silver Knight. He random recruited everyone pre-server and has slightly less than 100 people. I didn't realize there'd be that many random recruits for him, but it is what it is. And then his group is kind of allied to BB, Draco, and Sun, which are some of Alicus's guilds, a lot of them from the 30s on Antares. And it's those 5 guilds versus the pre-server Zerg of LOW, Lords of War, BS, Black Sails, Beach Party, and ASAE. That's not the regular ASAE. Ice Core. The Ice Core went in as ASAE in there. And I'm being told that HRC is actually with them, with the pre-server Zerg. I was unaware of it, but it seems real because a lot of the pre-server group of guilds, those are from the teens on Antares, and WP was in the teens, so WP playing with them again as HRC makes total sense. Anyway, let's see. I talked a lot and I didn't look at my script, so I've lost my place. How embarrassing. But those are the guilds fighting each other. As far as action-wise, there was just a little, not a little crash, a pretty big crash in, I think it was 01. Let's see, was it 01 or 00? I think it was it 00? I think it was 00. Yeah, it was 0. Yeah, thank you, Clarky. And Lords of War, they killed 200,000 Top Gun fleet. And they got that pile is about 130,000, and they're going to scoop all that up. Obviously, it's not profit this early in the game, but they were able to kill 200,000 fleet of Top Gun, effectively winning that Galaxy 00. I don't know what's going to happen to save them, but they're hurting. That's one Galaxy 1 for Lords of War. Let's see. Someone else is saying, what's another guild? IDK? IDK is like 5 people. They were so small. But I guess you're saying IDK is another group that's contesting the 10s. We'll get there. Yep. I've asked around. I don't have any idea what's in Galaxy 6 or 7. No one's told me anything. I'm not there. I can't see. Who knows? Is it OG Kush? Is OG Kush even playing Babylon at all, despite talking about having people in the zeros all the time? Probably not. Maybe next server. But all those 00s, we're calling it like a huge contest, but it is only half the cluster that's fighting from 00 to 04. And it is kind of hard to tell you, except for 00, who's actually winning each galaxy, because depending on what time of day you're looking at the Astro Discord, the stories vary wildly. Like, everyone thinks their side is winning by 1,000%. It's too hard for me to actually see who has the advantage as far as that entire war goes. If you're going to press me to take a stance, especially after the crash that just happened an hour ago, it's going to be Clarky's side is winning. It's definitely, I think they definitely have the advantage. They have more total fleet. Yeah, bigger number is bigger than the other number, so that probably means they have a better chance to win. It's just so hard to tell what's actually happening and going on because of the constant spin and trash talk in the Discord. Oh yeah, also in the zeros, there's Death Playful Sins Guild Stonk. They're in 08 and 09, just kind of hanging out by themselves. Jump kits come up in a few days, though, so not quite sure how soon they'll fly down. I think they joined up on the Silver Knight and Alicus side, but we'll see what happens. Oh yeah, let me actually describe what guilds are in some of the other guilds. I think it's BB is in 01 and 02. Draco is in 3. Sun is in 4. While Lords of War was in 0. Black Sails was in 1. And Beach was in 02. And the Ice Core China ASAE is in 03. I'm not sure who they have in 04. Maybe that's the HRC. Who knows? No one, yeah. When everyone's so secretive, it's hard to figure out everything. beforehand in the week of. But moving on to the next populous cluster, which is the teens, and the big ass alliance there is led by Star. He's allied with the Preserver Zerg and the Zeros, and they have a bunch of guilds in their group. They have CCC, the French guild. They have Red Kings. They have Pokemon. They have Defiance. They have Phoenix. They have Rob. Oh yeah, Rob is the Rangers of Babylon. Oh god, ugh, I don't like Rob. They are gross. And they're spread out in a bunch of galaxies in the tens, and it's generally not going well for them. Waifu was contesting Pokemon in 16, and I think Pokemon just pulled everyone out of 16 to just not really even contest that galaxy. There's a guild, Rats, in 17. They're contesting some Pokemon, mostly Red Kings there. They won a pretty big pile from Red last night. It ended up being about 50,000 worth of debris. The Red Kings held it for a little bit at the start, but Rats took it back, and they're recycling it all now. There's a guild, Coup, they're contesting Phoenix in 18, and they're winning that contest too. There's a group Trace, which is a 4-man guild, and they're contesting Pokemon in 15, and they're apparently doing pretty well for themselves. I actually have a bunch of battle reports for them I'll show in a minute. And the guilds that are on the lower end of the 10s, like CCC, I think Defiance is lower, and I'm assuming Rangers of Babylon is lower too. Not sure. But they're a bit lower in the cluster, and maybe they'll have to try to move up and support the other guilds at the top end of the cluster. Yeah, it's early. Everyone's so secretive. Sorry I can't be more definite. But yeah, there's a 6 guild group there in the 10s, and they're friends with the Zeros. Let's see. Oh yeah, there's Void that's in 10 and 11. I don't really know what they're doing. They're probably going to end up fighting the 6 guild Teens Alliance, but I don't think fighting is like officially broken out. Oh yeah, CCC is 12. Yeah, I can't believe I forgot CCC was in 12, and I was like with them for the first several days of the server doing nothing. But I mean, forgettable, I guess. Insult. But yeah, IDK is free simming in 19. Fun. But that's about all there is, like, in the Zeros. That's where there is lots of fighting in the Zeros in those 4 galaxies, and I'm sure you can read people shit-talking each other in the Discord all day. But there's only been one important blow that has been struck so far, which was an hour ago, which Clarky with Lords of War, they won. So it looks like they're winning that so far. Oh, yeah. And here's a bunch of those battle reports that Trace sent me, and it's them just popping Pokemon bases left and right. And we're going to briefly move on to the 20s and 30s, where there's just basically nothing and nobody. They're generally populated, or generally unpopulated, so I gave up on my dream of the 40s opening and just restarted in the 20s. News is the guild name, and as people relocate or restart out of the Zeros or 10s, I don't know, maybe I'll try to scoop them up. We'll see what happens. There's a small guild, IIWII. It is what it is, which was formerly named Legion of Grow or Dies in the 20s. Hellsfire had just randomly started there and joined that guild, and then they just made him GM because he had the best account in their guild. GTK is also spread out in the 20s, same as their sub-guild AOT. And that's all I know about the 20s. Just a few people really here and there, really scattered. Oh, there's some like Sith themed guild there, and they invited me to join, and I respectfully declined joining the, I think it's LSC was their tag, something Sith. Ugh. And I have absolutely no idea who is in the 30s, no idea at all. There's a couple top rank guilds that are kind of unaccounted for, like TLDGAR, which is the U-Corp gang, and SMFI, the something misfit group. But I don't know either of their locations. Neither of them have talked about it. They're probably in the 30s. Like, I can bet the U-Corp gang would be hiding up in the 30s. They go 39 and just chill there until some guild from another cluster invites them to go on an op, and then they'll go on it. Yeah, TLDR is 39. So they're not spotted, but if I had to guess, because no one's talking about the 30s or those couple of guilds I just listed, they're probably both hanging out in the 30s. Is that all of Babylon? Is that everything everywhere? Yeah, there's some fighting in the teens. Marv loves Sith. Thank you. Thank you. God, goodness. Is there anything else that's happened in this first week? There's fighting in the Zeros. Alicus is talking tons of shit to the Clarky people that talk in the Discord. The teens fighting is a lot less talked about. I don't see people really talking shit in the Discord about the tens, but it's happening. There's a lot of smaller contests going on there. But maybe the Teens Alliance, their numbers, they have roughly 120 people also. So maybe they'll just be able to outnumber them. We'll see what happens. But until then, it's still the week one. I think that's where we're at, guys. I know he does. Well, I don't really read what he says anymore because it's all lies and deceit. So, but I mean, everyone's giving him what he wants by arguing with him in the Discord every day. So he's winning in his mind because he's getting those attention dollars. But really, my dudes, I think that's all for the news today. I skipped having a guest on because I just wanted to kind of talk about what happened in Antares the last 3 months. Nothing. And just talk about who's kind of where in Babylon and where people are fighting. I know people are just really focused on their accounts. It's just that we just finished the first week. The second week is still really important as jump gates come up in a few days. I think it seems like people are still having a lot of fun. It's a shame we had a bigger player drop off than I expected from Antares to Babylon, but we still have 2 very full clusters, and then as people lose their contests, they'll probably move to the 20s and 30s, and then all the clusters will end up kind of be populated the same. But I think that's going to be it. I think that is the end of the news. Antares is stale, old news. We'll be barely talking about that anymore. But there's lots of fighting happening on Babylon, so I'm sure we'll talk about that a lot going forward. And I just want to thank everyone for tuning in once again. Hope you're all having some degree of fun on Babylon. Hopefully you're all winning. No losers. All winners. And I know I'm happy to just do a little goof-off training guild in the vacant 20s. I'm pretty sure I already have my first, like someone made a multi to just play with me. I'm pretty sure it's a multi because he's talking in like very broken English on the boards, asking like super basic questions, but his base is being built like completely correctly. So I'm pretty sure I'm already getting scammed by someone, but it's okay. If they're going to say anything on the boards to entertain me, I'm fine with that. That's fine. I'll take what I can get. But if you're ever interested in coming on the Astro News Network, just go ahead, reach out to me. You don't have to be a guild leader. That's not how it works. We don't discriminate. And you can always send me a message in-game on Discord, Twitch, wherever you can find me. Doesn't matter. We can talk Astro. And as always, thanks for watching, everyone. I'll see you guys next time. Well, that's not the right ending page. Oh my god. Time for Among Us. You're so right.